TYT reporter Eric Byler spoke to some people at a Trump rally. They turned out to be Alex Jones fans as well. So they had an interesting back and forth. Let's watch and then we'll discuss.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA, no Trump, no KKK, no fascist.
The lifeblood for this state is coal. The more liberal politicians tend to want to shut down the coal plants, and that's going to bankrupt the state.
What else is at stake for you as you look at President Trump battling to keep control of Congress, facing the investigations and all of that?
Freedom of speech, number one.
For both sides.
Right, absolutely. One of my favorite newscasters has just recently been banned from YouTube and Facebook platforms.
Why do you think Alex Jones was banned?
A lot of people don't like his message. I enjoy his message. I'm not one of those people that believes everything he says. However, he puts an interesting spin on turning the frogs gay, for example. It really makes you look at the white papers.
I don't know a single thing that he says except for the Newtown massacre not having happened, but what is the frogs being gay?
Chemicals in the water. Basically, you've got male frogs, no longer inclined to breed with females. So it's...
And it's not just like rhetoric or talk. I mean, this stuff is done in labs. There are scientific facts. There's things that people do that aren't covered or that they just mock at or laugh at. But the thing...
You're saying that there's something in the water that turns frogs gay?
Everywhere. Not everywhere. No, there's certain chemicals that are put in certain places. And when they do these labs or they do these studies and they find out, hey, this is what's causing this, and then it's just thrown under the table like it's nothing, or that, we don't even agree or we won't listen to you because you support Trump. That's what's aggravating for our side, is that when you have general facts or you're like, well, here, we just want to understand this or explain to us why this happens, and then they shut you down and scream at you and call you names and call you a racist and call you everything else. And before this election, I was never called any of those things.
Did you get shouted at as you entered the building?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And I waved and videotaped.
Protesters actually right out here.
Sorry,
your heroes are here.
We shouted some facts, and they didn't have much else to say. The rain came, and
they just scream that you're racist and you're white supremacist and all this. They just scream at you when you try to talk to them. They don't want anything to do with you.
It would have been nice to have some intellectual debate, but there was none of that.
So we smile and we wave and we go.
I mean, I asked them, do you think it makes it any more likely that they're going to reconsider their support of Donald Trump if you call them a fascist?
Well, if you want to debate like an adult or have an adult conversation, that's one thing. But if you want to scream at me when you don't know me and tell me all these things that you think about me, what makes that any better?
Facts are inherently not racist, not misogynistic. Facts just are. So if facts hurt your feelings, you can do something to try to maybe change those facts. But just calling people names and shouting people down because you don't agree with the facts, that's not intellectual. It's not a form of debate either.
That doesn't help the country at all. That doesn't help making someone see your point either. That just makes them not like the other side even more.
Okay, let me just make sure I understand the frog thing. In a laboratory, they turn frogs gay, right? Not in the streams and rivers?
No, you don't have to take the frogs gay so literally, but it was just a bit that he did on the show, and it was like...
there was certain water where these frogs had chemicals put in there, and they chose not to mate with the female frogs. They didn't need to mate anymore.
They stopped obeying their biology.
Yeah.
Did they mate with each other? Did the male frogs mate with each other?
Now that I'm not sure of. Like I said, it was... he said it's making the frogs gay. It drew my attention to the study, so... It's just one of those things.
See,
it's like a headliner.
It's
like a headliner. It's how it gets your attention, and then you can actually look into the issue. But like I said, I don't necessarily believe that frogs were turning gay. Maybe they were just not interested in the females.
But there was something going on that was changing their biology to do this, and it completely flipped when the chemicals got introduced. And instead of anyone looking into that, it was just shot down immediately because Alex Jones said it, or because it was on InfoWars. And I think a lot of things he overreacts. Don't get me wrong, because he likes it a lot more than I do. I think he is sarcastic. Yeah, it's an entertainment thing mostly, but facts are facts on certain things, and if you can debate those with me, then that's great. But if you're just going to scream because it's not what you want to hear, that doesn't get anyone's message across. That doesn't do anything.
You know, there's a lot to say about that. I think that there are some people, as I've mentioned before, who are TFG. Too far gone. But I think that percentage, let's say we go way over the top with it, it's 25% or 30% of the country at most that you can put in that category where you can relatively safely say, I don't think I'm ever going to change their mind, no matter how much I try to let them know, hey, I'm for you. I want you to thrive. I want you to be happy. I want to have the right policies in place that are conducive to a quality life for you. And those people, you know, whatever, you can say some of them are uber fundamentalist religious folks. Some of them are like genuine open white supremacists and things of that nature. But I do think that, you know, at the very least half, probably more than half of Trump supporters are people that can be reached if you actually care and you do an effective job to try to sway them to your side. And when you look at these people, it almost strikes me as they actually do want to be engaged. And I think it is fair to say that mainstream media, when it comes to somebody like Alex Jones, they put the cart before the horse. And so they do the mocking first. And then in the case of CNN specifically, they have like one reporter whose whole purpose is trying to get InfoWars banned from more and more platforms. So when you put the mockery first, and then also one of your main points is, my whole point is going to try to censor you and deplatform you, I don't think people realize that comes across as very weaselly. Like, that comes across as like, oh, you're almost like the schoolyard bully. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm the biggest opponent of Alex Jones that there is, and if you type in Alex Jones secular talk to YouTube, you're going to get 1,000 videos of me basically mocking Alex Jones. But there's a difference, and I think it's a very key difference. What I try to do is play a specific clip of Jones, break down exactly why what he's saying makes no sense, so there's the explanation first and then the mockery. And I think that if you go about it that way, people like who TYT is talking to here, I think that they're reasonable enough to go, yeah, you know what? On this particular one, I'm not sure I agree with Alex Jones. What he said is wrong for the reasons that were just laid out. So I think that that's important. I really do. And I don't think that that's something that's done nearly enough. I've always said, not to toot my own horn, but just to show how I don't think deplatforming and censorship is effective, I think that I've deconverted more Alex Jones fans than CNN or any mainstream media outlet has in their crusade to get InfoWars censored from all these different platforms. Because I'm engaging with what they're saying, even when it happens to be super ridiculous. I will debunk it, and then I will go on to mock them. So I'm not above mocking. But I do think that engaging is more important to deconstruct it, to debunk it, to dissect it, to explain why it's wrong, and then you could go and have your fun and mock and things of that nature. Now, the other thing is, listen, they bring up the facts over feelings thing. And, of course, they got that from Ben Shapiro. Now, dude, the whole point that people like me are making is that not that we're saying, oh, facts, you know, your feelings are more important than the facts. No, that's not what we're saying. Our counter-argument to Ben Shapiro is, oh, you say facts over feelings, but you actually don't put facts over feelings. So that's our counterpoint. I mean, they make it seem like the counterpoint is people are saying, no, Ben Shapiro and other right-wingers, we want to put feelings over the facts. No, what we're saying is, it actually is the case that he does not put facts over feelings, and indeed he does put feelings over facts. I mean, the best example of that is he said something on Twitter the other day, like, oh, God exists. I'm going to paraphrase here. I'm not going to get it exactly right, but something akin to God exists outside of this dimension, outside of space and time, and he's always there, omnipotent, yada, yada. And I responded to it and said, what happened to facts over feelings? Because you can't, he tries to have it both ways. On that one, on religion, that's about belief, and that's, logic, God, something has to exist. No, it doesn't. That's not true. That's not true. And that's just one example. I mean, we can go into, a belief in trickle-down economics and how that just objectively does not work and actually leads to, it hurts the middle class and it hurts the poor. And the whole point is to, basically turn the economy over to the rich, let them do whatever the fuck they want, let them get richer at the expense of everybody else. So, we can go issue for issue. He was writing articles about how the Iraq war is great and it's a wonderful idea. What about that is facts over feelings? There's nothing about facts over feelings there. That's an offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. That's a fact. That's me putting facts over feelings. The war in Iraq was an illegal war, according to the UN. According to international law, it was an offensive war against a country that didn't attack us. He's writing articles saying the Iraq war is great, but he's not putting facts over feelings. He wrote articles talking about the gay agenda. The fuck you mean the gay agenda? And again, these are people who I don't think these are bad people because they go on later on, and when the issue of homosexuality gets brought up in the context of people, they're kind of like, hey, live and let live. It's whatever. Yeah, but then the dudes that you're looking at and you're idolizing, like Ben Shapiro with the facts over feelings thing, he's deeply opposed to gay marriage. He, again, wrote these articles about, the nefarious gay agenda is taking over. And it's like, So, listen, I think that ultimately there's a lot of blame to go around here because I do think that, people like the counter-protesters at this Trump event, where they're there screaming, no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA, and they're, just shouting down the people going into the Trump rally. Don't get me wrong. I think there is a place and time for protest, but I think the whole idea of protest is you go after the people in the government, or you go after the people on Wall Street who rigged the economy, or the military-industrial complex. So you go to them and you talk about specific things. Hey, we're protesting for a $15 minimum wage. We're protesting for Medicare for all. We're protesting to end the wars. We're protesting to close Guantanamo Bay, or whatever it may be. Those, I think, are protests that are totally legitimate, and I'll lead those protests. But if you're just lining up outside of a Trump rally and you're just screaming at the people who are going to the Trump rally, not only does that not make sense, you're actively hurting the causes you claim to care about. Because what's going to happen is exactly what happens with these people, where they'll get out there and they'll give these interviews and they're like, hey, listen, man, I'm waiting to engage with people. I'm waiting to have a conversation with people. Let's have a conversation. But they don't want to have a conversation. They want to shout at me and call me racist when I'm walking into this rally. So I actually think there's an important point there of there is a place and time for protest. But I think if you're going to go protest, the same people who you're going to turn around in the next election and say, oh, by the way, can you maybe vote for the candidate that I support? They're not going to support your candidate if you were just fucking screaming at them and calling them a racist outside of a rally. So, in my mind, you have to engage, and there are many instances where you can actually get the vote of somebody for your preferred candidate if you're willing to be honest and have an open discussion and tell the truth and not immediately judge them as a bad person per se. That's not me saying there aren't bad people at Trump rallies. I just told you there are some too far gone people who might actually fucking legit be in the KKK or what have you. Totally that happens. But most of them are not that. And you could probably reach many of them. But step one is you don't just scream in their face as they're walking into the rally. You try to engage with them. So, I don't know. Maybe I think some people might watch this segment and call me naive. I don't know, maybe, but I think that the fact that there's, tens of thousands of people who voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump, and all you needed was 70,000 people, maybe more, to vote for Hillary in the last election to win because the Rust Belt was really where she lost it, and it was just because she lost the Rust Belt, she lost the election. So I think that if you focus on the people that are gettable, I think you can win, and you could win pretty easily. So maybe I'm naive, and maybe whoever dissents on this video is right, but that's my sense of it, and I think that when I see an interview like that, I don't walk away from that saying that these people are in that too far gone camp. I don't. I walk away from it, and I think, if only, they saw effective debunking of the people who they watch, like Alex Jones and Ben Shapiro. If only they had stumbled across a Secular Talk video where I break that down. If only they had somebody who's on the left who was willing to kind of walk them through certain things, I think they could very easily have been on the left and not on the right, and maybe there's still hope for them now. So that's my take on it, and I'm curious what everybody else thinks.